Formula 1 is back. We are here for a brand new season, starting things off with pre-season testing at the Circuit de Catalunya. And the big headlines is there was an internal agreement for a brand new regulation change, which has been made public. There is now a major chassis weight reduction regulation change coming into effect, which is going to see brand new lightweight cars, averaging 8 seconds a lap faster on circuit. But there has been an MGU-H change whereby they will not be able to harvest as much energy, meaning with brand new cars, which will require less braking, and with a smaller battery, deploying the ERS is going to be that much harder. But which team has come out on top so far? Let's have a look at them as they all went to the track in Barcelona. Mercedes-Benz arrived at the Circuit de Catalunya looking to put all of the problems that they've had behind them with their reliability, especially on their car. And they've gone ahead and made a statement after the departure of Reis has now officially been confirmed. Mercedes-Benz have gone ahead and got an old famous man back in their team. Nico Rosberg has rejoined Mercedes to go alongside his former teammate and rival Lewis Hamilton. Toto Wolff took the bold decision to reunite Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton in order for the two drivers to push each other to the limit in order to win the title. Toto Wolff believes that back when Rosberg and Hamilton used to be teammates, the reason that they were so much more dominant than they probably should have been was the fact that the two of the drivers were the most top of their game. They were pushing each other consistently, and it was all about whoever could be on top throughout the weekend is going to get that race victory. Toto believes with the grid being much closer this season, he believes that the two drivers, by pushing each other to the limit, not only will push their team further, but also catapult the drivers to claiming a World Drivers' Championship. Now, Mercedes-Benz in pre-season testing had a good run of it actually, covering plenty of miles, and believing though, they still have work to do if they're going to try and challenge for the title. Mercedes-Benz no doubt has actually shown that they've got a great power unit on board their car, and through the corners with the brand new regulation change, they seem absolutely fine. Their biggest problem though is that despite the fact that Mercedes has a very well-rounded machine, it's just a tiny bit off what they were anticipating. They felt like they could get a little bit more out of the chassis aero and the powertrain. They just feel like it's a little bit behind from what some other competitors are currently running. So some upgrades are going to be needed in order for them to press on further in the season. It's not been the best of seasons for Ferrari, especially last season, and in fact for a few seasons prior to that. Ferrari did have a stage whereby they were the team to beat, at the top of their game, consistently winning races and also the Constructors' Championship. But that seems such a long way away now. However, Ferrari believe that this year is the year where they can step up and make everything right after it's all been going so badly wrong. So how have they gone ahead and done that? It's now officially been confirmed that Reis has made the switch to Ferrari after he left Mercedes at the end of last season. Reis, of course, has been a lifelong fan of Mercedes-Benz, but just felt like every time that he was into a new season with the team, there was such high expectation, led by just straight disappointment. And, I mean, that kind of comes with Ferrari as well, but there's clearly something which Reis fancies with Ferrari. He's going to be partnering alongside Carlos Sainz, who finally gets that big break he was looking for. Sainz, of course, had a toxic relationship with Ford, and has finally got himself a switch to the all-red Scarlet Ferrari. Now, Ferrari have got an old classic sponsor returning to their car, which is, of course, Marlboro. The classic tobacco sponsor, which, of course, we haven't seen on the cars since 2006. But we have now got an opportunity to see the car back in that classic looking colour. Now, how are Ferrari getting along in pre-season testing then? Well, Ferrari have literally got things pretty much spot on in terms of this regulation change with the lightweight cars. Ferrari overall seem to have a very good power unit alongside Mercedes-Benz, one area where they were struggling before. Their chassis seems to be at a brilliant lightweight level, whereby they can go quicker through the corners than many other cars. But what's clear for Ferrari, and what's helping them out much more than what has been in previous seasons, is that Ferrari seem to understand where they're going wrong. Previous seasons, Ferrari have been unsure why they've been so far off of the pace, and have not really been able to develop in the right direction. Ferrari believe their car is a little bit too draggy, and that aerodynamically, their car is not quite up to the standard of some of the other drivers in the competition, and they feel like that they can go ahead and fix that, with some early upgrades coming in the season in order to try and mitigate this. Reis believes that overall it's been a brilliant pre-season testing, and he's looking forward to what he believes is his first true shot at a Formula 1 World Drivers' Championship. It's a new era for Red Bull heading into this season. as they have now decided to ditch all aspects with their partnership of Honda, and BMW are making their way back into Formula 1 as they have signed a new title and engine partnership with Red Bull Racing. They're officially now going to be known as BMW Red Bull Racing heading in towards this season, with a brand new BMW power unit powering the Red Bull Racing car. With that, Max Verstappen has rejoined Red Bull as Mason Wood is retained them. Red Bull are hoping that the new partnership that they're going to have with BMW will be one that will bring them a lot of success in the future. But we do not expect that success to instantaneously. Red Bull do believe that the start of the season is going to be extremely tough, as overall they don't quite feel like they've nailed the regulations at their perspective. Now with BMW, they've given them their exception. Of course, BMW used to be their own team in Formula 1, but decided to leave the sport after many problems. But they believe that working alongside Red Bull can bring the best partner. Being a little bit behind with their power unit development, believe that it's going to take them a little bit of time before we can really see them catapult up the field. But Christian Horner still believes that the car itself is not quite where they want it to be. They believe they need to do some more work to lighten up the car with the new regulations to make sure that they can really power their way through the corners, and they also need to make sure that the drag is a lot less, as they feel like at the moment the car is, again, like Ferrari, a bit too draggy. Red Bull believe that at the start of the season they're going to be looking at trying to make strategies work in their favour in order to score consistent points, whereas then the second half are going to be going for just consecutive points, but going for consistent podiums and potentially even race wins down the line. It's very bold predictions from Red Bull, but it's a brand new era for BMW Red Bull Racing. Here they are, it is McLaren who have managed to win the Formula 1 World Drivers and Constructors Championship for the past 2 seasons, and heading into another season of Formula 1, they look to be the team to beat yet again. But as they go out onto the track, McLaren have managed to actually seal a very strong driver lineup into this season. We found out that Tom and Sam left the team, as well as many other senior personnel from McLaren, including Zach Brown, the team principal, due to lots and lots of chaos with regards to Vodafone. But they're looking to put all of the drama of last season behind them and move forward. And how they're going to do that is by getting Daniel Ricciardo and Charles Leclerc to come alongside each other and take on the rest of the competition. McLaren have gone ahead and brought back their traditional silver chrome, partnered with the red and black for their car in towards this season. McLaren believe that they have no major issues with their car, which is a very promising sign, and it looks to be that they are going to be the team to beat yet again. However, McLaren are not taking everything for granted. They still feel like the competition is extremely close, but it looks like they're going to be the ones that everyone is obviously going to want to try and usurp, as McLaren, of course, have won the championship on many occasions. There has, of course, been a massive senior personnel change within McLaren as well. Of course, after we saw David Smith move to McLaren after he was removed from Jaguar, Vodafone have put all of the issues behind them. They're looking to go and move forwards. McLaren believe that this season, despite winning last season's Formula 1 World Championship, should be even stronger this season now that everything is all behind them, and the driver's title and the constructor's title are what they're aiming for. Renault come into Formula 1 looking to try and make sure that they're no longer that classic midfield team and are a front runner and a championship contender. In order to do that, they have managed to go and get the signature of Valtteri Bottas. Bottas had to spend last season at Williams struggling at the back of the field whilst he was trying to sort out getting a better drive for this season. And he feels like signing with Renault is the perfect opportunity to do that, and he'll be partnering alongside Esteban Ocon, who remains at the team for another season. Renault have done a very similar thing like Ferrari and are partnered up with a classic old sponsor of Mild 7. Now, of course, the name Mild 7 is not the official branding for the former tobacco sponsor anymore, but for that classic name, it's been put back onto the car as the Japanese company has allowed their previous name to be put onto there to allow for more of the older Formula 1 fans to understand what this sponsor is all about. Now, Renault are actually not 100% happy with their car in pre-season testing. They actually were very disappointed with pre-season. Despite Renault actually being very close to Red Bull in performance, they still just didn't seem that happy. It's almost like they instantly expected to be up front. Renault believe that overall they need to work on every element of the car, with the powertrain, chassis and aero all lacking in each department compared to the competitors. Renault have announced that they're already working on a B-spec car, and the only thing that they're taking as a positive heading in towards the first round of the season is that, like many other teams on the grid, it seems all of the teams are understanding where their problems are with their car early on, rather than struggling to find that. Renault believe that overall they've got to go all out with the upgrades and need to make sure that they bring in the powertrain, chassis and also aero departments all in one go if they're going to challenge for this. They're looking to potentially try and do what Red Bull are looking at doing in bringing a massive set of upgrades halfway through the season to try and bump themselves further up the order. Audi are next to join the circuit here at Barcelona, and could this be the team that is to take the title away from McLaren? Well, that might just be the answer. It appears that the paddock are taking a very good look at Audi heading into this season, as they look to have potentially moved away from being a midfield team and being a very well-oiled front-running machine. Sergio Perez will be joining alongside Russell at Audi, as Devon Butler has been dropped by the team. Audi have had a reshuffle in the senior roles in a bid to restructure the team to win races again, and it looks as early signs show that has come off very, very nicely. Audi are rocking a brand new style of livery heading into the season, with white, red and black being the primary colours, compared to last year where we saw a sort of a camo style, very dark livery along with the red. But this time around it has switched up a little bit. Audi at the moment, in terms of pre-season testing, seem to be matching McLaren in all three main areas, being the powertrain, the chassis and the aero. It looks though that Audi seem to have found a little bit extra with the aerodynamic department, with their car producing a little less drag than their competitors. In the race, this should really help them out, as they'd be able to get easy overtakes done in a straight line, and with their performance elsewhere on the track, be able to maintain position. Watch out for Audi. This could well be the team to beat heading into this next Formula 1 season. Jaguar are next to hit the circuit, and could this be the team that actually takes the championship away from McLaren, as they seem to have near identical pace with themselves and also Audi heading into this Formula 1 season. It's looking that close, and in order to do that they need some championship material. And not only did they manage to sign Sam initially first for their team, but they also have reigning champion Tom alongside as well. The two former teammates over at McLaren have jumped ship over to the new project at Jaguar, with many of the senior McLaren officials moving over to Jaguar after Jaguar had a restructure of their own, and there was lots of calamity and drama between internals at Jaguar and internals at McLaren. Move them around, swap them about a bit, and here we go. Now, of course, it's a little bit controversial with the Jaguar car, as it looks very, very similar to the Mercedes-Benz car of last year. Now, Mercedes are the team that have come out and spoken about this, and have said that as much as the car is aesthetically near this identical to their car from last year, the blueprints are going to be completely different due to the major regulation changes with the chassis weight reduction of all of the cars. So Mercedes-Benz were the first to be asked about this. They're not causing any form of problems with Jaguar, but the biggest problem is the car that looks very similar to them from last year looks to be a little bit closer in terms of performance towards them, maybe even a step ahead. Of course, Jaguar this season have decided to ditch the turquoise blue and black that they had for the previous few seasons, and they've now gone ahead with a black and green look, and the car looks absolutely mean on circuit, and they're looking to take the championship fight to McLaren. Ford unfortunately broke out of testing at the Circuit de Catalunya with not a lot of good information to really bring out about their car into this season. Unfortunately, it looks like Ford are looking to set their sights on fighting at the back of the field to start with, but in saying that, Ford will not give up on this season. They only managed to complete a very poor 427 laps in pre-season testing, which really just was not a lot, and it just meant that they couldn't really get to grips with their car. Despite this though, Ford are not going to give up on this season and continue to push harder as the season moves on. Despite the fewest amount of laps completed out of anybody on the grid, Ford still have an understanding of what they need to do to get their car further up the order. Could we see them fighting in the top 10? It's going to be a very long stretch, but you never know with the team. Pierre Gasly is continuing to lead the team as Noah James joins on a one-year deal. Now, it was actually very hard for Noah to get himself a drive for this next season. Of course, we saw Noah outshine Charles Leclerc in Ferrari last season, but after he left Ferrari earlier than what Charles did, it just appears like he really just couldn't find that good drive for him, and he's had to settle with Ford. But in saying that though, he's still happy to join the team and is looking to press on. Speculation over the winter had been whether Williams would stay in Formula 1 or whether they would sell their team, and they sold it. Aston Martin are now a fully fledged Formula 1 team after buying out Williams, and they look to try and get themselves up to the top of the field in Formula 1. Aston Martin say that they're going to be finding their feet in Formula 1 this year, and they're not expecting to be challenging any close to the front anytime soon. They are looking to potentially try and get 1 or 2 point scoring finishes throughout this season, but it's all about a learning stage in this season, ready for then the following season of Formula 1. Sebastian Vettel has shocked the paddock with a return to Formula 1 alongside Lando Norris for the Formula 1 race calendar. Sebastian Vettel has a strong relationship with Aston Martin and had some partnerships with them, so when Aston Martin knew that they were going into Formula 1 full-time, they called upon the 4-time world champion to try and get his services for the team, in which Vettel said yes. Now, Aston Martin have made a very big statement even before they got onto the track. Last season, Porsche had managed to strike themselves a deal with Gulf and to use their traditional orange and baby blue colours. But Aston Martin have come along and have taken that sponsorship right away from Porsche, as Aston Martin are now Gulf Aston Martin Racing. That's really going to make Porsche a little bit unhappy about that. But speaking of Porsche, let's go and see what they've been up to over the winter. The last team to discuss then is going to be Porsche, and of course the interesting factor about Porsche this year was that they had lost their Gulf sponsorship that they attained last season. Despite losing their Gulf sponsorship, Martini came along to become a title sponsor, and we have now got Martini Porsche Racing, and it's an all-German lineup with Pascal Wehrlein maintaining his loyalty to the team, with Nico Hülkenberg joining alongside of him. It wasn't a very good pre-season test though for Porsche. Just like last year, they were struggling to understand where their lack of pace was really coming from. Unlike most of the teams who seem to be understanding what's wrong with their car and are looking towards upgrades and developing in that area, Porsche just weren't really sure. They just didn't quite understand what was going on with their car, and both the drivers were finding it very difficult to learn more about the car as the test went on. Both drivers, despite this though, remaining confident that they can help get their car higher up the order, with lots of simulation work and testing work, especially in the in-season test and during free practice. They believe that they can help get Porsche up the order where it deserves to be. Porsche though in general are trying to target top 10 finishes consistently throughout the entirety of the season. They believe to start this season off, their main challenger is going to be trying to get as close to Renault and Red Bull as they possibly can. But with Renault and Red Bull already planning their big upgrades for later on in the season with the elements of their car weaknesses that they've already discovered, it's going to be hard for Porsche to match this. However, they believe that with the extra hours put in and the determination that the team shows, they can go ahead and spring a surprise in this season of Formula 1. And last but certainly not least, it's time to have a look at what the Formula 1 calendar is going to be like for this year. We can officially confirm that it is going to be our longest season yet, with 17 races on the calendar. The main headlines are as follows. Monaco is returning to F1. Last season, Monaco had some work done at their down at the harbour area, and that was going to cause a lot of problems with regards to hosting a Formula 1 Grand Prix, with the harbour having a lot of refurbishment work done to it. In order for this to be done without any form of interruptions, the Monaco Grand Prix had to be cancelled last year, but it's back on the calendar this year. The Russian Grand Prix is making a return to the Formula 1 calendar, as they believe the time is right for Russia to be reintroduced to the Formula 1 calendar. And then we've got 2 brand new circuits, as we're going to be heading to Vietnam and then also to the Netherlands at Zandvoort for 2 hopefully epic Grand Prix events. But those Grand Prix events that have missed out is the Australian Grand Prix, the Mexican Grand Prix and the German Grand Prix, with the Mexico Grand Prix circuit officials being absolutely furious by not being able to be onto the calendar for this season. Mexico, of course, has very rarely been on the calendar and was on it last season, and now the Mexican Circuit Grand Prix officials believe that they're no longer willing to accept being a replacement circuit for any others that are not on the calendar. They believe that they had managed to strike themselves a deal that would allow them to be consistently on the calendar year after year. But seeing this has really hurt them a lot, and they're taking this a lot further. So I don't expect this story to be shying away anytime soon. But now let's go and have a look at the race calendar itself and see where all of our rounds are going to be taking us. We're going to be starting off the first two events with duels in the desert, as we'll be starting with round number 1 at the Bahrain Grand Prix, with the second race of the season heading to Abu Dhabi for a double duo desert showdown. Great names there. Round number 3 then is going to be taking us over to the US for the Grand Prix of the USA at the Circuit of the Americas, and then it is going to be the Canadian Grand Prix. After the Canadian Grand Prix, we're going to be heading over for a little Asian trip, as round number 5 is the Singapore Grand Prix, followed by the Vietnam Grand Prix directly afterwards. What Formula 1 is trying to do with this calendar is to make sure that each of the events are pretty much situated in the same continent in order to help out for the Formula 1 teams. Round number 7 of the Formula 1 season will see the reintroduction of the Russian Grand Prix, followed by then the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Round number 9 of the season is going to be the Dutch Grand Prix, followed by round number 10, which is the British Grand Prix. After the British Grand Prix, the French Grand Prix is next on the list, with the glitz and glamour of Monaco being round number 12 of the Formula 1 season. The high-speed Austrian Grand Prix is round number 13, with the Templar Speed of Monza being round number 14. The 15th round of the Formula 1 season is the Brazilian Grand Prix, with round number 16 being the Japanese Grand Prix, and then the traditional season finale showdown at the Belgian Grand Prix. The calendar is set, pre-season is done, the brand new regulations are in place. These are the fastest Formula 1 cars we've ever seen. As we said at the start of the pre-season introduction, these cars are set to be anywhere between 8 to 12 seconds a lap faster than what they've ever been before. These new lightweight cars are absolute machines, but who's going to come out on top? Can McLaren take the World Drivers' Championship for a third season in a row, or can the likes of Mercedes, Ferrari, Audi, or even Jaguar try and challenge them and take that title away from them? It's time to find out next time on the F1 Journey. Peace.